putting pumpkin pie on my lips, so when you kiss me later. Mm-hmm.
I should keep this part in. That way people know we actually kiss. Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Yennefer.
Babe, it's 2022.
Oh, thank goodness.
Well,
I don't know.
I hope so.
I feel like I said the same thing last year.
Yeah.
Like 2021 is going to be it. It's going to be a great year.
2020 was a piece of shit. I'm glad it's over. And then 2021 was no better. Really? I mean, yeah.
The end was pretty good.
Which part?
Like the last couple months.
Was it? I mean, not for the world necessarily.
For me,
For
it was
you.
better than the first.
Well, I'm glad.
10
I'm glad it
months.
was good for you. Well, you changed jobs
Right.
a couple times.
Changing jobs has helped tremendously.
Yes.
So,
It's good that you like the people you work with and
well, it's not like I didn't like the people. I just didn't feel at home.
didn't feel at home.
And right.
Some of those people
And when
might
you have-
be listening.
Sure. But it's, when you have a lot of other stressful things going on in your life and then you have to spend all day, every day feeling not at home. That's just one huge thing that I was able to fix. So, yay.
Yeah.
For
That's
me.
good. We're recording this and I'm doing my best. I'm a little tired. Last night
He
was-
had a quarter of a glass of wine.
I had I had at least 2 beers worth of.
That's right. You had the hard cider.
I had hard cider, yes. Beer-like, but tastier. And yeah, well, come on, that was at least half a glass of wine.
That hard cider was a lot of alcohol because
Yes, that
cider
was.
is higher in alcohol than beer. I think most.
But
beers.
tastier.
But tastier, right? And that was like at least 2 beers worth. You're right. And then a quarter glass of wine. You didn't like get drunk.
No, I never really felt tipsy, but this
today you
morning I
feel
had
bad.
a hard time functioning.
Maybe because you're not drinking enough water.
That could be.
Your body's absorbing that alcohol and hanging on to it.
I took a week off of basically all dieting and exercise, and I can definitely feel the difference. I'm not hydrating as well, and I'm very tired. So back to it.
Back to it.
Any New Year's resolutions, babe?
Well, I think I tweeted my New Year's resolution that I was going to
Sorry,
appreciate.
there's a dog biting me. Stop it.
Well,
Shorty.
don't give him your hand. Jesus, you're like, here, have my hand.
He really likes. Oh, damn it.
Shorty,
Okay.
go lay down.
We need a nickname for him.
Go lay down.
Shorty, the instrument of chaos,
Go lay down. Down.
the dog of chaos.
He's like, you don't have a treat. Fuck you.
So you were saying you tweeted your New Year's resolutions.
Right.
Where could someone see that tweet?
At Kid Free Weekend on Twitter.
There you go.
To appreciate life more, which encompasses a lot of different things like getting out and seeing beautiful things and doing more exercising. And I don't know, it encompassed enough for me that I was like, yep, that's it. And I don't have to be like nailed down to one specific thing.
Okay. I like that. I was saying to you a while back, you and I are both in our mid to late somethings. And I was thinking, I'm really working hard to try to get in some semblance of shape. And maybe it's kind of working a little bit, but I feel like for as hard as it is now, it's never going to get any better than this. We're only getting older.
Right.
So
I felt a huge difference in the past couple years, but that's also because my body's just not up to, it hurts,
yeah, you got problems.
And so I've definitely felt the difference in my health and the way I feel.
Yeah. So back to it. I think it's just going to be the next 40 years or so, just grinding it out 3-4 times a week, just making sure I exercise.
Yeah.
Forever.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. If only
Yeah.
I had trained my body when I was younger.
Right.
But I didn't.
No.
Nope. Never really did. Well, you were like at least a high school athlete kind of, right? You did track or cross
I did
country or
swimming.
Swimming.
Mostly.
Right?
Yeah. I did a year of track and the rest swimming.
I was in, let's see, jazz band and pit orchestras and computer club for 1 or 2 years. Not as athletic, but I had some extracurriculars.
Did your jazz band count for your PE? Because you had to march and stuff?
Well, that was marching band.
Oh, you didn't
Jazz
do that.
band, we would just sit there. Marching band was just part of our
so
normal band, so no, it did not count.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But we didn't do a lot of it because Wisconsin, the seasons really said there was only a small window of time where we could really do marching band on any given year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep. So, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
I really hope 2022 things take a turn for the better. Sort of everywhere would be
everywhere.
Nice. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Things have been rough, but I'm going to stay positive, damn it, or as positive as I can.
Yes. Well, one thing that is great is that we haven't had to worry so much about a psycho controlling our government.
Not a psycho.
Right.
But I wouldn't say things are going great.
No, but I mean I don't fear for my life on a daily basis, which I did back then.
Oh.
I mean, just because you never know what the fuck is going to happen. Like, we could be bombed. We could be invaded. We could be attacked by our own citizens.
Well, I think
we could have had a revolution.
Right. I think a civil war is the most likely thing that could befall our country.
Or just hateful people. Like, you can't express yourself without getting the potentially harmed.
Yeah.
Couldn't. Now
right.
It's better. I don't fear.
There's people in our own neighborhood who, it might have been 2 Halloweens now. We don't spend a lot of time with randos in our neighborhood, but like a guy was walking his kids around and they were talking about masks and mask mandate. This to the neighbor, our exact, next door neighbor. I heard this guy talking to them as they were sitting out, and something about like, oh, I'd like to see someone try to let me, make me put a mask on when I go into Target. Like he's going to kick someone's ass. And there's still a lot of that around.
Right.
And then there's still a lot of anger surrounding elections. There's still a lot of people that think Biden's not legitimately our president. And I am not a Biden fan, but he is our president. I mean, he did win that election. And it's weird to think, like, I guess it's just where you get your news from. But the concept that you wouldn't believe that the election was on a razor thin margin and this time it went against your guy. Like, somehow there's no way half the country could support someone that wasn't your guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was pretty unhappy that Trump won. And, I mean, there's always shady shit going on in Florida. But generally speaking, our elections are pretty safe and pretty legit. And voter fraud is very rare and never on a large enough scale to actually make a difference. So we'll see what happens over the next, I think in the next year, we'll have midterms coming up. That could shift power in our government. But 2024, Trump's probably coming back. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? I don't. But
hopefully he'll die before then.
He could get COVID. Well, he's been vaccinated at least. Like, he's gone around saying that now. And now some of his people that love him are like, wait, what? The guy
said not to do
the
that.
guy that rushed us into vaccines is pro-vaccine, and I don't know it's weird. It's so contradictory. I don't know. But I do know that our CDC now has given up and been like, the economy's too bad. We need everyone back to work, even if you're sick. So there's that.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of people vaccinated also now. There's that.
I don't know that the percentage has gone up dramatically. Like,
it's gone up from 0
yet. Well, sure,
when we were closed down.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're around 50.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with the fact that we're open again. I mean, as long as there are precautions.
It's nice to be able to go to the movies, and I take my mask off to eat popcorn, and I put it back on when I'm done, and I'm probably going to be fine because I've been vaccinated, 2 rounds of it now, right, with the booster and everything. So I'm probably okay. But it's It's not just about me. It's about kids and elderly people and, people. I mean, your mom is vaccinated, but she's old. If she gets COVID, it's, it could be the end of her. Like, there's a lot of other things to consider. And I think there's just not enough people thinking outside their own individual, like, household bubble. What's convenient for them.
Mm-hmm. I'm okay with that.
I'm going to be wearing a mask to go to the grocery store probably for the rest of my life because I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which I think I've said on here before. It's just fun being anonymous and not having to give a shit what I look like.
I agree.
Yeah. The rest of it, we'll see. Anyway, it's 2022. We're hoping things will look up. And let's talk about some shit. Let's get nerdy.
Okay.
Nerdy's good.
Do
I like
it.
being nerdy.
Do it.
I've got a couple Game of Thrones things. And I don't know if either of these crossed your web browsing world, but the first headline, Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin begged HBO to extend the series to 10 seasons.
The new series.
No, the one that's over.
Oh, he begged, got down on his knees and please.
Well, maybe.
Please.
Let's see. Martin, who has not yet completed the book series, A Song of Fire and Ice, blah, 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 he personally lobbied HBO executive Richard Plepler. What a name. Richard Plepler to make 10 seasons of the show. George would fly to New York to have lunch with Plepler to beg him to do 10 seasons of 10 episodes because there was enough material for it and to tell him it would be a more satisfying and more entertaining experience. But Game of Thrones showrunners D.B. Weiss and David Benioff wanted to end the series after 8 seasons, having devoted nearly a decade of their lives to the show already. Dan and Dave were tired, rightfully so. They were done and wanted to move on, so they cut it short, and then negotiations became, how many seasons can we stretch this out? Because, of course, HBO wanted more. Now, the thing that really bugs me about that is you can change showrunners. It's been done.
Sure.
The Office is the most streamed TV series that's ever existed, and across all generations. They changed showrunners a few times because people needed to go on and do other projects. You could do that.
Right, but I don't know. It's a pretty... At that point, I would think that you're at a pretty difficult decision after having the same showrunners for so long, and then at the end, changing it for the last 2 seasons could be a bad decision.
It could be, but it could also bring new life into a series where, I mean, I personally really didn't have any problems with season 6 and 7, except for the way like people were teleporting around the world. But apart from that, like I still really enjoyed stuff. Some of the fans didn't.
So at what point did he go and ask them, beg them to keep it going?
Well,
does it say?
I don't know.
Like
exactly.
If it's season 7, I mean, they've pretty much already written in the ending, and they would have to rewrite a lot if it was near the ending of the...
Well, it doesn't say in this article exactly when that begging happened, but it does say this. Martin was uneasy about the direction the show was taking after season 5. That was where Jon Snow got stabbed, because that's where the books end. Right? There's not been a new book since then. When the writers began moving into territory that was not yet published, George loves Dan and Dave, but after season 5, he did start to worry about the path they were going because George knows where the story goes. He started saying, "You're not following my template." Martin maintained he gave Weiss and Benioff a roadmap for his plans to end the book series, but with 2 planned novels yet to be published, he's been working on the penultimate installment since shortly after the first season of Game of Thrones aired. It was up to Weiss and Benioff to come up with exactly how it played out on the HBO series. The author hasn't been shy about his criticism over the last few years, despite being positive overall about how the series wrapped up. So I guess it was after season 5, he started going and being like, hey, maybe we should do something different. And also extend it to 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to, like, rewrite, I'm sure.
Sure, yeah. I mean, anyone else coming in would have...
So, I mean, that's a big decision to... They probably already had figured out their plan. They're going to finish this in 8 seasons and then go on with the prequels or whatever. you know?
Well, now, thinking about the concept of extending the show to 10 seasons, right before we started recording, you were watching a little segment on the Graham Norton Show, a very popular British interview show. And Peter Dinklage was sort of saying the opposite, wasn't he? About
he
the show
said
ending?
that he was relieved when it was over because it was time to move on.
Yeah. And maybe the other actors felt that way too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, both Maisie and I'm like Sophia and Maisie. They both of them like have their whole careers ahead of them. If they stuck themselves in Game of Thrones, they probably wouldn't have had as many openings when that, if they'd done it for like another 5 years.
It can be tough. You see that sometimes with like the Disney kids that'll do a show for like 7 years of their youth, and then they have a hard time breaking out of that mold.
And then become drug addicts. Then they go on rehab, those stupid rehab shows.
Well,
and then they end up killing themselves.
You hope. What? God, we got dark.
Well, that's what happens to child actors.
God. Okay, sometimes, yeah.
Of course, the film industry was much less regulated back then when all of this happened to people, but
thankfully Maisie Williams never went down that path.
Well, she's still young.
She is still young, but she seems to be doing okay.
Hopefully.
She's found a variety of roles.
They drink a lot.
We don't know that Maisie Williams drinks a lot. Sophie Turner was partying and drinking a lot, but now she's a mommy.
Now she's a mommy.
Mm-hmm. She's married. She's a mommy.
It's crazy.
She's probably just living a quiet home life for now. She'll get back to acting in a couple of years, maybe. I don't actually know if she's been doing anything or not.
I don't know either.
She was in the X-Men movies and Game of Thrones. That's all I know.
She's set for life, I bet, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think any of these people
They just bought a new home in somewhere, but it's beautiful.
Her and the Jonas dude?
Yeah.
It's a white house?
It's all white, yeah. Like white inside.
Oh, not on the outside.
I don't know about the outside.
Okay.
They probably aren't advertising what the outside looks like.
See, now that's the folly of youth, isn't it? I mean, as a parent, would you buy all white furniture?
No.
I mean, fuck, we have brown furniture.
Clean, like wipeable, maybe leather.
Well, yeah, maybe. But we have brown furniture and we can't keep Sharpie marks off of it. I mean,
man.
Fuck. And we have teenagers.
Mm-hmm. But they have maids and nannies to watch them, so.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yep.
So that was George R. R. Martin, and then there was this Peter Dinklage thing that you were watching, but prior to that, which was just within the last couple of days that he was on Graham Norton, there were many, many articles. I picked one off of digitalspy.com, but Peter Dinklage responds to backlash over the final season. So as we've talked about, not everybody loved the way the show ended.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily love it myself. There was a lot to like in season 8, but Bran?
Yeah. Well, he wasn't. Let's not go into it again.
Okay, fine. Right. Let's look at the article. Game of Thrones caused widespread outrage amongst fans when its 8th and final season aired in 2019, but Tyrion Lannister star Peter Dinklage has now dismissed the backlash. He was talking to the New York Times, I guess. He said, "I think the reason there was some backlash about the ending is because they were angry at us for breaking up with them. We were going off the air and they didn't know what to do with their Sunday nights anymore. They wanted more, so they backlashed about that." All right, we'll just pause there. Were we mad because we didn't know what to do with our Sunday nights anymore?
No.
I don't think that was it.
I mean, sure, I missed having Game of Thrones to watch, but...
We had Westworld right after that, I think.
The ending was such a letdown. It was like a balloon deflating, you know?
That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think we didn't podcast for a while because I just felt like,
And right. And it was so not predictable, but like the whole thing with Daenerys and burning the city, that was predictable.
Kind of, yeah.
I think the Jon Snow stabbing her was predictable. The part that was not predictable was that Bran was going to be king. And the way the Night King died, that was just so like, that's it. I mean,
I loved Arya being the hero.
I did too,
but the fact that it was in episode 3 instead of episode 6 or 5 or something.
I'm this all-powerful Night King, and it just takes a little girl running through and stabbing him.
Yep. She took him down
And that's it.
easy, as a matter of fact. Yep.
It was, yeah. I don't, we're not going to get into it again.
We can get into it again, man.
We don't need to. So you're wrong, Peter.
Well, there's more. There's more.
Petter.
He didn't take his foot out of his mouth yet.
Petar.
Further along, Dinklage also talked about the fact that Thrones is a work of fiction, as if we didn't know that, featuring... Okay, well, let's just read the quote. They wanted the pretty white people to ride off into the sunset together.
Who?
By the way, it's fiction. There's dragons in it. Move on, he said.
Is he an asshole?
Well, I don't know. It never seemed like he was an asshole before.
He seems like an asshole to me. When I see him, of course, he's always playing an asshole in the movies. You know, but okay. Well, like, okay, so Elf, he was such an asshole. Yes. And I imagine that's how he acted, but in real life. But he can't be that much of an asshole. I don't know. He's got kids. He should be all right.
I feel like I've always heard he's a very nice guy.
Not that kids don't mean you're an asshole. I don't know.
Maybe he's at his wit's end because people are still talking about it 2-3 years later.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
He could just be exhausted.
That's the first thing out of everybody's mouth when they see him.
But pretty white people riding off into the sunset together, that's not...
He's wrong.
That's not what I was looking for.
How about some closure on the people that were not white, that were left...
Yeah, Ilaria Sand, motherfuckers. What happened to her?
Well, no, yeah, and I'm talking about all of the
the shame lady.
Drogo's people.
What?
Drogo's people.
Drogo.
Yeah, Drogo. Khal Drogo's people.
The
What are they called? Jesus. What are they called? Dothraki. Right.
Whew, that took me on a journey.
How about let's talk about what happened with them? They're just gone.
I mean, some of them survived.
A lot. Hundreds, you would think. The women, they weren't fighting. The children, did they come over? Or were they left back with no men to protect them?
All good questions. Yep. But I feel like they left a lot of little details unfinished. And then... Well, okay, so wait, there's a little bit more. The show subverts what you think. That's what I love about it. It was called Game of Thrones, but in the end, the whole dialogue when people would approach me on the street was, who's going to be on the throne? So, he gets that. But he said he was particularly fond of the final sequence where Drogon melts the Iron Throne. He said, because it just sort of killed that whole conversation, which is really irrelevant and kind of brilliant on behalf of the show's creators. Shut up. It's not about that, he said. They constantly did that where you thought one thing and they delivered another. Everybody had their own stories going on while watching the show, but nobody's was as good as what the show delivered, I think. Yeah. Now, how do you feel about the throne melting? Was that okay? Maybe. I mean,
sure.
We were all betting on who would take the Iron Throne at the end, but none of us bet on, well, maybe there won't be a throne.
But there is.
Well, not anymore. Drogon took care of it.
Okay, well, not the same throne physically, but there's still a seat.
There's still a king.
Yeah. Right. It means nothing if you're not... I don't know.
No, that's a point too. It's not like we broke up the 7 kingdoms, although we kind of did, I guess. I mean, the North is the North now,
but there's still a king, and the North was always the North. It's the same.
Yeah. Not a lot changed.
Except that there's not stupid evil people running it now. You got Tyrion, who's the hand, and hopefully doesn't fall off the wagon again. But
was he ever really on the wagon?
So what he's saying just really isn't. That's what he's thinking. People are. I don't know.
And if he loved the way the show ended, it's his opinion. He is okay to have his own opinion. A lot of people.
I like the way. Okay, so I like that Tyrion is hand of the king. Yes, but I don't like the king because he's not even there.
He's off.
Of course, that's what it's always been. The king was just a figurehead.
Well, that's true. Yeah. But wasn't the goal to have something better? Yes,
but Tyrion is better. Well, they're going to change things. All we saw was the beginning.
Yeah. I took a screenshot of someone, a buddy on Twitter, Nina, who I think I quoted on here once before. She talks about Daenerys a lot, but She said, really fucking tired of Game of Thrones actors complaining that fans didn't like the pile of shit that they were served. So she did not like the ending. Without fans tuning in, hyping it online, buying merch, the show would have gotten canceled and show would have gone nowhere and likely gotten canceled. Fans were owed quality in return. I think it's mostly brand. She didn't like the turn that Daenerys made either. She thought that they should have built the way they had built the Daenerys character. She should have been better than losing her mind at the very end.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
She could have lost her mind and then come back. That would have been cool.
If we had had 10 seasons.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. But instead, they just killed her.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Not that I didn't want her to live necessarily. I just didn't want her to be so predictable. Like, this is what is expected of you because we know your lineage past.
And some of it at the end, too, like, not even before she burned the city, like, Varys had a conversation with Jon Snow privately, so she burns him alive. I mean, just little things. And then that I could go off on a whole rant there about how we never got any answers about Varys either.
I know.
God
I so
damn.
wanted to see.
What did he hear in the fire? Was he really a mermaid king? You know, there's all sorts of things that people want to know about him.
Aye. We should take off where George R. R. Martin left off and write it all in.
Yeah.
Create our own little...
Should do our own little...
spin-off.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, let's do it. We'll make it what people want.
Who can we pitch it to?
We'll just publish it. I mean, we could publish it by ourselves.
Oh, we'll do like fan fiction.
Why does it have to be called fan fiction? It's not fan fiction. It's
we're fans and we
fiction.
wrote some fiction. Okay. Well, so that was my headlines. I mean, it was kind of a lot. There was also a little bit about how HBO released its preview of the year 2022 and Game of Thrones, was there. But we didn't see anything new, really. Just little brief clips. You saw Matt Smith and that forehead of his that you hate so much. They're also doing his Dark Materials Season 3. We finally started watching a little bit of Season 1.
Yes, we did.
We're as excited as I was about that show.
I am not sure that I'm sold on it yet. It's good.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll watch a few more.
We'll keep going.
I mean, I think I really... I don't want to say what I want to hear your opinion of, but I don't want to stop watching that show with you until we meet at least one particular character and then just see like where your brain is at with this weird alternate version of Earth.
Okay.
We finished Wheel of Time. We're going to do a deep dive on that with Lore Master Kevin soon.
It's an excellent show.
Excellent show. Really great if you love Lord of the Rings anyway, and you needed more Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the stuff.
Everybody always needs more of... Are you kidding?
Yes. And Amazon's going to give us more Lord of the Rings too, to go along with Wheel of Time.
I am so interested to see how that comes out.
The Lord of the Rings series?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what
Amazon.
it is yet. I mean, it's not going to be a remake of the movies. It's going to be some other material about the world.
Great.
And I'm here for it.
Me too.
For sure. But today, we're going to talk about The Witcher, Season 2. Now, I got to go through this series. I think I got to rewatch Season 1, honestly. And you don't have to do that with me necessarily, but I think I got to...
be watching Henry Cavill anytime.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's always an easy sell.
Yep.
Isn't it? If I've rewatched some of the Wheel of Time episodes without you, and you haven't seemed particularly bothered by that. But there's no Henry Cavill there.
No.
Uh-huh. But
I haven't sat there and watched them with you. I've just been like, and walked away. Sometimes I'll watch because it is a good show.
Season 1 of The Witcher features a number of episodes where he's taking a bath.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2, not so much. I think there was maybe one bath.
I don't know.
We didn't see a lot of him shirtless.
No,
this time
we
around.
didn't. Mm-mm.
So I'm sorry for that.
That's okay. It was good.
It was good anyway.
It was still good.
So I probably need to rewatch Season 1. There's a few little things I've forgotten here and there, but I have gone through the book. So the first season was primarily based on The Last Wish, which was the first Witcher novel. And I don't know anything about the other books yet. I haven't started book 2, but I did get them all on Audible. And the first book is it's an anthology. I think the other books might be too, but I'm not sure how they're going to approach the larger plot lines of wars and things. But the stories themselves were pretty close to form in most respects. I thought the show did a pretty good job adapting them. There's some things you want to change here and there, but what the show really changed with season 1 versus book 1 was the interweaving plot lines. Everything in book 1, it sort of centers around Geralt is taking a rest. He needs some healing, maybe some therapy.
Yeah, he was pretty fucked up.
And he's hanging out with someone that we met in season 2, Yennefer. He's hanging out at that temple throughout the entire first book. And then he's going through it while there's these little interstitials where he's talking with Yennefer or other priestesses.
Who's Yennefer?
She was the very wise black lady priestess that we saw met in season 2.
Okay.
You remember her?
Yep.
Yeah. So in the book, he's hanging out with her the whole time, or her priestesses, and sort of rehashing things. He's going through stories in his head, and so we're getting those told to us as the book moves on. So we get all the things that we remember Geralt doing from season 1, pretty much. The Butcher of Blaviken, right down to the killing of the Kikimora. We get him going to the party where he meets Dooney, and like that whole thing happens in the book. But what we don't get is a journey that Cirilla takes. We don't get any backstory on Yennefer. He meets her, and he meets her in pretty much the same way that he meets her in the show, with the genie wishes and
okay.
Jaskier's throat is fucked up and all that. All that stuff still happens. But we don't know anything about Yennefer. He figures out that because she's a sorceress, there's something a little off about the way she looks. Like, she's really pretty, but she was changed. And he figures out just by staring.
She's had some work done.
She's had some work done. Right. He figures out by staring at her that she might have used to be a hunchback.
He figures that out.
That's in the book. Yeah. That's in the first book.
Well, he knows monsters. Apparently.
Whoa. Hey, hello, back off. What the fuck did you just say?
She's a magical hunchback. That makes her a monster.
Jesus.
Sorry. You know what I mean. She
that
was
could be
like
a fucking Disney show, Yennefer the Magical Hunchback.
The magic lived in her hunchback.
God. So he figures all that out, but like...
How?
I don't know. But in the book, she's described as not being extraordinarily pretty.
She doesn't have scars?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Maybe she's got a big old scar on her back.
Maybe there's
Probably not,
like little hints that work was done. Not a big scar anywhere. But he does still fall in love with her.
Okay, so she's not particularly pretty, or just not like, do you think she's outstandingly what do you think of her in the show right now?
I mean, she's not the hottest woman alive, but she's very pretty. I mean, I'd certainly put her well above average.
Okay, so very pretty.
Yeah.
Okay.
You?
I think she's a 5.
Wow.
Out of 10.
Wow. Okay. What about Daenerys in comparison? They've got kind of a similar badass girl vibe.
She's like an 8.
Okay. Dare I ask who would be a 10 in your book?
I'll have to think about that.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you have an answer off the top of your head, but
no.
I thought maybe you're comparing, like all women are compared to this one woman. But no. Okay. So anyway, the book 1, and I do want to mention this because it ties into season 2, episode 1. So book 1 has a couple of stories that are very, very fairy tale, but with a darker, witcher twist. And I was telling you about this a few weeks ago when I was re-listening to the book. The story of the Butcher of Blaviken, which is episode 1 of the series, right? We meet, I can't remember her name now, but we have this princess, the former princess, and she's really a mutant deep down inside, and being a mutant made her evil. And so we have this showdown between Geralt, who's like, we should just let her be, and Stregobor, the wizard, hiding in town, who she wants to kill him because he ruined her life by declaring her a mutant and evil and all this stuff. And she wants to kill him, and then Geralt winds up killing her because the lesser of two evils, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. It's a whole thing. So that is in the books as one of the first stories. but the way it plays out in the books is it's very overt, but also kind of clever. And I have mixed feelings about it, but overall I really liked it. Like, she is Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of little twists that they don't talk about in the show. I think they were afraid of making the show sound silly, but I wish they hadn't, because like it comes down to like her mom died. She got a stepmom. Her stepmom stared at a magical mirror all day long and then was like really jealous of this girl. And then they did this whole mutant thing. But like her stepmom
ate a poisonous apple.
Right. Well, so her stepmom hires someone to take her out in the woods and kill her, but instead the guy falls in love with her or something, had mercy on her, so she gets away from like the huntsman, right? And then she falls in with 7 dwarves, and then eventually Stregobor and her mom track her down and try to kill her with a poison apple. That's all in the Witcher story. And it's just fascinating because it's a little bit silly, because you're like, well, obviously he's taking this from Snow White, but also still really well written in a way that just kind of makes you enjoy it, I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting...
But they didn't do that in the show.
No, because I agree. That probably would have been silly.
A little silly? Too silly?
Too much.
All right, fine. Well,
or maybe Disney was like,
Well, but it's not Disney's story, right? Snow White.
It is Disney's story.
Fairy tale.
Very well. That's true. That's true. But do they? No, they own the rights to Snow White.
Their depiction.
I don't know. I don't know how that works. Who wants to go up against Disney, right?
No one. I guess no one. But if anyone could do it, Netflix. Netflix
I don't know.
Has all the money now.
They're probably owned by the same people.
God, I hope not. Anyway, so season 2, episode 1 of there was one story in book 1 that did not appear in season 1 of the show, and that became season 2, episode 1 here, which was the story of Nivellen, this mutant beastie monster. So let's just start by... So we're going to go through these episodes quickly. We'll do a deep dive later. But episode 1 of season 2, A Grain of Truth. What do we have? We have Geralt and Ciri. They finally reunited, or they were united in the first place. They had never really met before. But they met at the end of season 1. And they traveled to Sodden first to try to find Yennefer. The battle's over. There are a lot of burned corpses everywhere. Probably smells awesome. But they meet Tissaia, and she says that Yennefer died by saving the day. And if you recall from season 1, she just unleashed a fiery hellscape all over Sodden and destroyed all of Nilfgaard's army.
Mm-hmm.
What they had there. So Geralt's very sad.
He's like,
Yeah, he doesn't... Yeah, you know I gotta say, Henry Cavill, I think his face acting is really skilled. Because you can see him processing those feelings, but also trying to keep them bottled up.
Yes.
I think he does a great job.
Mm-hmm.
So he decides to take Ciri to Kaer Morhen, and while they're traveling there, that's when they have this adventure where they meet this guy named Nivellen, who was Geralt's sort of old friend. They met when Nivellen was young, and then Nivellen, like, his story involved, like, he and his friends broke into a temple and raped a priestess, and then they all got cursed or something, and he is now like a boar. He had tusks.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
he's a funny guy.
Do you remember who's playing Nivellen?
Yes.
It's our Game of Thrones connection.
Tormund
Giantsbane. Christopher Hivju. I don't know if I'm saying that
Bless
right.
you.
But he was playing Nivellen. So this story was in the book, but very different in that Geralt, this was not an old friend. Geralt met him and befriended him in that story, which still involves Verena, this naked lady running around. But it was very different. But in the book, as I recall, and I do need to re-listen to it, Nivellen, it was a little bit different. Like, this old lady appeared at his house and asked for shelter, and he scorned her and told her to go away, and then she cursed him for his unkindness. Does that sound familiar?
No.
It's very, very, very Beauty and the Beast. Except in the Witcher version of the story, the beauty that Nivellen was in love with turned out to be this vampiric creature. And as I'm pretty sure in the book, Geralt was like, steer clear of that one. Don't let her into your house. She's an evil creature. I know you think she's hot or whatever, but don't let her in. But this was way different in all those different ways. But I did like that the house was still magical.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Oh, I would love that house. To just be like, give me some throwing knives. Give me some dinner.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that magic was part of the house or if it was part of his curse.
I feel like it was part of his curse.
I hope he can still provide for himself. I mean, the whole town nearby is dead because they got vampired. But I don't know. But so they spend a couple days there, I think, or maybe just one night. I don't know. Ciri meets the vampire who was kind of nice to her. And it's not a vampire, but a Bruxa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it's the Witcher. Can't just be a vampire.
Well, it's like a shapeshifter vampire, kind of, right?
Well, vampires can change form, too, from human to bat. This thing did a bat, but
I guess.
kind of a bigger, badder bat monster.
Bigger, badder bat.
Yes, bigger, badder bat. I loved the just the effect of her like moving around, how they would cut out frames so she would be all jittery looking.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was pretty fun. But she had killed a nearby village, and Geralt just can't have that because he's a monster slayer, so he slayed the monster. And Nivellen was very sad, but it broke the curse, which also I didn't quite understand. But in the book, again, no curse broken. Geralt was like, hey, friend, sorry about your curse. Steer clear of that monster outside. It was nice meeting you. Like, they get along, and they were friends, but in a very different way.
Yeah. Now, wouldn't that guy be considered a monster?
Well, the curse was broken. He's not a monster anymore.
But even before, like before.
Because he raped a priestess?
And he's now a monster. Like, with tusks and stuff.
Well,
shouldn't Geralt be like, hey, now you're a monster?
In this world, whether it's intentional or not, like some certain level of sin can come with a big monstrous punishment, right? Which we had in season 1 with the incest baby. That I can't remember what the monster was called.
She was a scary one.
Yeah, but she was cured of her curse. Geralt broke the curse, and then she became a...
True, that's right. I remember. Now she has to go live with like the nuns or something.
Well,
they sent her off
they have
to
to
train
keep her
her
restrained until she stops trying to bite everyone's throats out, which did happen in the book. I think it might have even been Tisea that helped him, like she did in the... I can't quite remember, but yeah. Anyway, so we did get to see Christopher Hivju in the flesh without a beard.
Mm-hmm. That was weird.
Yeah, it was quite a shock to the system to see Tormund Giantbane without his beard, but it was
It's
cool.
like when you shave.
Which I did today, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't think I can fuck you anymore. I just wanted to start the new year. I'm growing the beard right back. It's just sometimes it feels good to get a fresh start on the facial hair.
Yeah.
And you were disgusted.
I'm not disgusted.
You seemed disgusted. Maybe I'll put a mask on.
Okay.
She said okay. So that was most of episode 1. We also saw a little bit of Cahir, the former Black Knight of
yes,
Nuremberg.
He's looking
Nilfgaard. That's it.
Right.
He was not looking good.
Not looking good.
Locked up in Aretuza.
You thought he was weird looking when he had some weight on him. No, he's super skinny and even like he looks like an alien.
Well, his eyes are just so far apart.
Oh, I know, and his bones in his face are like popping out.
Very, very prominent cheekbones. He's got the same cheekbones as what's her face from Wheel of Time,
Angelina Jolie.
Oh, no, that's not where I was going with that. Does she look like
yeah, hard face lady, the red lady.
Yeah, Lisette. No, Leandrin.
That sounds
I
right.
think that's her name. Yeah, same kind of cheekbones, but his eyes are way far apart. So he was captured, and he was being tortured by Tisea, who wants information. And then Fringilla had captured Yennefer with like 4 guards that she had left, and they all got ambushed and killed except for Fringilla and Yennefer, and they were captured by elves.
Right.
Which leads us to episode 2, Kaer Morhen. So the Yennefer and Fringilla story becomes pretty big. So they're captured by Filavandrel, who we had met in season 1, and also met in the animated movie, Witcher Nightmare of the Wolf.
That was good.
He was advising or was friends with or something. He was hanging out with Vesemir at 1 or 2 points. So here we have them traveling with elves now, and the elves are looking for something. And then it turns out that Francesca, who is now leading the elves, and Yennefer and Fringilla are all having these weird dreams about people in robes different color robes, but whatever.
Mhm.
It all leads them to make a discovery of this hut in a forest.
Weird stuff. Now, this must be from a fairy tale, too.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It is very, very fairy tale like, or the hut with a witch inside.
Mm-hmm. Right. Maybe it's from Hansel and Gretel
Hansel
or
and Gretel.
something.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, that's going to require some thinking on. I mean, someone that knows all these stories has probably figured it out.
Yeah.
So
this is like some Bloody Mary shit.
This will be part of our deep dives later. We'll figure out what that could be from.
Oh.
Anyway, so they go to this magic hut, and there's a witch of sorts inside called the Deathless Mother. And all three of these magical women have these crazy vision quest things happening. Yennefer is being taunted about sort of being able to get her power back if she just does something, but she doesn't want to do it. Fringilla is getting some words of encouragement kind of from the Emperor, I guess, Emir, except that's not what he looked like. I don't know. I was having a hard time understanding if Emir was the king of Nilfgaard or their god. But I think he's maybe both, like a pharaoh situation.
Yeah, he's like Kim Jong-un.
He invented the hamburger?
Am I saying the wrong name?
No, Kim Jong-un is famous for he can golf a perfect game, get holes in one on every shot. He invented the hamburger. He's amazing.
Exactly.
Or maybe that was Kim Jong-il. Maybe it's both. I don't know. But yes, something like that. And Francesca sees Ilthin, something like that. And each one of them is being taunted with what they desire the most. And ultimately, this leads to Fringilla and Francesca forming an Elfin Nilfgaard alliance.
Strange.
Which Fringilla thinks because Nilfgaard just got like annihilated. They still have armies left, but they could use some reinforcements.
Right.
So for her, it's kind of tactical, but the elves just want to be safe for once.
She also seems to like them, or her.
Well, I think that grows in
Yeah.
time. I don't think it started that way, but I think it gets there. And Yennefer, somewhere in all this, she finally gets unchained, and then she's like, I'm going to get out of here. And then she realizes she doesn't have her magic back. So then that sort of rings with what the witch was putting in her head. So that was a whole thing. Meanwhile, Geralt and Ciri get to Kaer Morhen. We meet some of the other witchers. Who's your favorite witcher besides Geralt? We meet Vesemir. We meet...
I don't feel like I got to know them, but there was one that was nicer to Ciri, and that was my favorite.
The bald black guy with like scars on his face?
Probably.
Not the redhead guy. He was kind of a dick.
Yeah, he was the instigator.
I think the bald guy was Cohen.
I liked him.
I can't remember the other guy's name. Lambert. Lambert was the redhead.
Yeah, I don't like Lambert.
He's funny, but he's also a dick. So there's this nice reunion, and Ciri's meeting all the witchers, and then Eskel arrives, which winds up taking up a lot of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
He was fighting a Leshy, which is like a tree monster, but what we don't know is that he's infected with leshiness. He's got leshy spores growing inside him. So they're having a party. They got a bunch of sex workers to come over, I guess. And then Eskel turns fully into a Leshy monster. And Geralt has to choose between Leshy Eskel and Vesemir. So he kills Leshy Eskel.
Yeah, that was sad. It really hurt him.
It really hurt him, and I did feel like portions of this season were a little rushed, and this was one of them. Like, we didn't get to know Eskel at all.
It seems like a huge deal.
Right.
Like, is he more important than the other brothers? Because Geralt seems to like, maybe that was his closest friend when they were kids.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, and I was like, maybe one of the things... I know Eskel's a character from the books. I know book fans are really up in arms about Eskel dying, like he's not supposed to have died. But as you were saying that, I was thinking, what if Eskel was one of the kids that we saw in The Witcher Nightmare of the Wolf? Because we saw a young Geralt. Let's see, we have young Vesemir.
There was one kid that he was really close with, but I think they also talked about it on that episode, in this episode.
Like, he had a flashback. I think it was the next episode. But we had a flashback of Geralt with Eskel when they were a little bit younger and the world was slightly less fucked up. And they seemed close, But we got that after Eskel was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't see Eskel as being on the list of characters in Nightmare of the Wolf. So yeah, like we show watchers have no basis of anything to be like, oh, it's really fucked up that Eskel had to die instead of someone else.
Right.
Yeah. So I just felt like that was a little bit rushed.
Yeah, I too.
Let's see. Episode 3, Serious Training. So this is where Lambert and Cohen really come into their own. Where they start, Ciri's like doing sword drills that Geralt taught her. And then they're like, hey, go to this machine that we have out on the other side of the campus. And it was like a Skyrim trap times 10. With like these swinging bricks and like or swinging logs or something. I don't know. They kept just knocking the shit out. I would have been dead. Right?
For sure.
Like the first blow that catches you right in the chest probably gives you a heart attack.
Yeah, crushes your chest.
Yeah, but you know, they're witchers, so it's okay. And I guess they were used to killing children.
Right. They actually tried to kill them just to make sure that they were tough enough.
Tough enough, right. Right. The trial of the winds or leaves or whatever that was that we saw in the cartoon. Yeah. Okay. So Ciri's training. Vasimir's trying to figure out the Leshy thing because it was weird. Like Leshies don't infect people. So there was that. Yennefer, I guess, walks to Aretuza. I don't know how long that was supposed to take, but that felt a little Game of Thronesy in its speed and reliability.
Right.
Because she has no, as far as we know, she has no other survival skills. She was a hunchback that was abused, and then she learned how to use magic to do all the cool stuff. I feel like she would have a hard time traveling around this world.
Right, right.
But she did it. She gets to Aretuza, and there's all this politicking. Basically, Tisea and Vilgefortz wind up taking over the Brotherhood. Take it out of Stregabor's hands. And they figure out that Yennefer's lost her magic. The Council of the Brotherhood's really mad at Yennefer for using fire magic.
You're not supposed to do that.
That's the thing that I guess they felt like they had to drill home before we meet this fire mage fucker. But it's one of those things like she saved you guys. She maybe saved like
the world,
the
right,
north or the south or whatever region of the world this was.
Right.
By taking out Nilfgaard's army. And she lost her powers doing it. Maybe you should just say thank you.
Yeah, as if the Nilfgaardians weren't going to like burn their houses down and shit.
Right. Well,
rape their women and kill all the men.
Yeah. Well, they're out on a cleansing.
Right.
At least as far as we can tell. We still don't really understand what Nilfgaard's after, Ciri. But they sure are taking dramatic steps to get there. So they're going to make her prove her loyalty by executing Cahir at a ceremony where they bring in a bunch of the northern kings. And then they block all magic. Convenient. So no one can use magic during the ceremony. And Yennefer gets an axe and she's going to kill Cahir. But instead she breaks the chains and no one can stop her because none of them have skills except maybe Vilgefortz. None of them have skills when they don't have magic. And she runs off and they escape together. Which I did not understand the motivation for. Still not sure I do. I mean, Cahir was a murdering lunatic.
Right.
So I didn't quite get it.
Maybe she just needs his knowledge.
Maybe. Maybe she thought he would be useful. And maybe he kind of was before this was all over. But very weird. We find out that Francesca the elf is pregnant. Mm-hmm. And she and the elves all make it to Sintra, the place where this whole show started with Ciri's story, which is now occupied by Nilfgaard. So the elves start doing this mass immigration to Sintra, which I guess used to be their land, but it was like Zintria or something like that.
Right.
Before it got taken over by these pesky humans. And then this awful monster comes. So Ciri and Geralt, they're talking about like Ciri could have all these cool magical powers, yada yada. They go out into the woods, they find the Leshy that basically killed Eskel. And then during that, this other thing shows up.
To fight the Leshy.
It kills the Leshy. And then comes after them. And it was pretty fucked up, but also cool looking. You remember it was like a centipede.
Right.
But then it had this face that was almost humanoid, but like really fucked up and mutated. I don't know. Like it had expressiveness.
Well, yeah, that's because it like absorbs people. It was
maybe.
a mutant.
Yeah, we don't really. I mean, they call it here in the synopsis a myriapod,
Hmm.
but I think again it was different from other myriapods. Like this Leshy had other powers that Leshies don't normally have.
Right. It wasn't just a tree.
But it was interesting that this thing cornered Ciri and wasn't immediately trying to kill her. It almost looked at her like our dog looks at us when we talk to him. Like,
huh?
Yeah, it kind of tilts its head and is just like looking at Ciri, trying to figure her out. And then Geralt leaps in with his sword and cuts it in half.
That was pretty cool.
I mean, I wish I could know what would have happened.
Yeah, and maybe she could have had a pet and she'd just ride it.
She could have been queen of the myriapods.
Mm-hmm. Sit right on its head.
Army of centipede monsters at her back. No one would have fucked with her then.
That'd be cool.
Episode 4 introduces some new characters, and the episode's called Redanian Intelligence, and we meet the king and, I guess, spy master of Redania. So, King Vizimir, I guess, and then Sigismund Dijkstra, this very imposing but kind of old dude, like probably in his like 50s or 60s at least. He's all white-haired, bald on top. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I just keep talking. I'll get there.
Well, we meet this guy in a flurry of blood, as there's a couple people, we don't know anything about them, who they are, anything, and they're talking to King Vizimir of Redania, and then all of a sudden, one of them poisoned, and one of them gets a knife in the back of his head, and it's Dijkstra's doing. He said that they were traitors or dangerous or spies or something. He had some reason to kill them, but he also seems like he's kind of crazy, and maybe he just likes killing people, so I don't know. And he talks to an owl.
Oh, yeah.
And the owl, we see like owl cam at a number of points. So the
That's
owl
right.
is clearly intelligent and like feeds him information.
It's telepathic.
Yes. Telepathic owl. So we meet that guy and he's trying to figure out how to take Sintra. So what was missing in my view was the motivations again. Like I'm not sure what their thing is. They don't like Nilfgaard, but they also hate elves. And they know that the elves are going into Sintra. Well,
that's his motivation. He doesn't want them to have Sintra.
Well, right. He doesn't want the elves to have Sintra, but he wants Sintra for himself. I guess it's just maybe just a imperial thing, but I feel like messing with Nilfgaard is...
Well, they're down now, so he's going to...
Get them while they're on
kick
their
them while
heels.
they're down, yeah.
Triss shows up in Kaer Morhen.
Yeah, this was an interesting part for me.
Well, I guess Geralt reached out to the mages, or maybe Triss directly, I'm not sure which, but wanted someone to come help train Ciri, and Triss is the one that shows up. And they knew each other because she saved his ass.
Right, but they seem to have like... So we're so used to Geralt. I almost said Geralt. We're so used to Geralt being so closed off and not communicative. And now he's like all lovey-dovey with her. And it just seemed like, did you fuck her? Because you seem to be awfully familiar with somebody that...
He met her before he ever met Yennefer.
I just feel like
hot.
It was a confusing relationship for me.
She's like...
And clearly for her.
Well, yeah, clearly. Well, she's like a nature lady. She's kind of a hippie, but...
Yeah, but he's just
she probably got something.
He was sending mixed signals. That's all I'm saying. If I had got those signals from him,
he's hurting, right? He's
I'll
on the he
help
loved
him feel
Yennefer.
better.
Yennefer's dead. Triss is mourning.
Make him feel really good.
Right? She just wants each of them to feel good.
That's true. That's what she said, basically.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't have to be a thing. Let's just be there for each other.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty hard to say no to. She's a fine looking lady, even with whatever.
And Yennefer is dead, according to him, which...
Oh, yeah, and she knew.
She didn't
Yennefer
say anything, but they didn't really discuss it. They didn't really talk about it.
They should have talked about it.
You would think.
Unless Triss was keeping that knowledge to herself.
Well, maybe she didn't want to rock the boat because she wanted him.
Right. She wanted to get some of that.
Could be, but
Rivian
she's supposed to be
Wang.
nice. The Witcher Wang.
Witcher Wang. Yes. All right. So a bunch of stuff happens in this episode to move the plot forward. Ciri talks about how she's the one that knocked over the monolith. So that's kind of a big deal because no one can break monoliths. So Triss sends Geralt to talk to Istred because he's a monolith studier. So they talk eventually. And Vesemir's out in the forest and finds these flowers and blah, blah, blah. It turns out that Ciri has elder blood, which is related to the elves, but like better. They haven't really made that clear either, but it's kind of an elf thing, but an extinct super elf. But that's what Ciri is.
Okay.
And they can use her blood to create the Witcher mutagen, so they could actually make new Witchers for the first time in like 50 years. Which wouldn't be bad, except for all the dead children. Anyway.
They know better now.
So there's that. Yennefer and Cahir are on the road. They get to the city of Oxenfurt.
Oxenfurt.
Yep. And they see elves being abused all over the place. So Cahir sort of redeems himself a little bit, right? They're on the run, but they're also helping a couple of elves try to get away too. And they're all trying to go to the same place, Sintra, because that's where Nilfgaard is. And they meet this figure called the Sandpiper, who's been smuggling elves out of the city. But it turns out that is... I thought you were going to chime in.
Mm-hmm.
The Sandpiper is actually Jaskier.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Sorry.
Looking different.
Well,
Did
we see him with his shirt off before?
No.
Because he's all buffed out.
He's definitely ripped, but also like he was wearing this long leather coat that looked kind of cool, but I think he was also wearing eyeliner.
Yeah, he was. He's evolved a little.
Yeah, he has changed. Got to give him a different look because time has passed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
He sang a song that was very catchy.
Mm-hmm.
Burn, Butcher, Burn.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as Toss a Coin.
Well, and not as complete of a song. I tried finding it online, and it's really exactly what we heard in the show. Like one good chorus where he's belting out Burn, Butcher, Burn.
And that's it.
And then he sort of collapses into this little whispery part at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So disappointing. I wish that was a full song, but catchy nonetheless. It's been in my head for a while now. And did we talk about... Oh, we didn't talk about this. In the books, Jaskier is his name because it's Polish. But it's Polish for, I guess, someone was just telling us this the other day, buttercup.
Oh, yeah.
But it was translated into English as dandelion.
Mm-hmm.
So dandelion is his English name. And then in the audiobook I'm listening to, I had no idea that Jaskier, like, there was obviously something. I figured maybe they just changed his name for the series or whatever. But in the audiobook, the narrator is calling him Dandelion.
Which is very different from dandelion.
It's kind of catchy.
I like Dandelion.
Dandelion's a fine name, but it's definitely Dandelion.
If my parents named me Dandelion, I would be like, no, it's Dandelion.
That would be like, there was a story a number of years ago where a lady named her twin boys Lemangelo and Orangelo. Do you remember that one?
Mm-mm.
And it's spelled lemon jello and orange jello.
Nice.
But she was pronouncing it Lemangelo and Orangelo. So you could be Dandelion.
Clever.
Maybe we should rename Shorty. Maybe he should be Dandelion, the dog of something. No? Okay.
Doesn't fit him.
So we get to catch up with Jaskier, who's not happy with any of his former companions, but he'll still do the right thing. And he gets everybody on board a ship. Yennefer, Cahir. We also get Dara back, who has been released from Redanian.
Dara looks a little different
jail.
too.
He had a big, awesome afro for a while. That went away quickly.
Yeah.
But they're all going to make it to Sintra, but Jaskier got in trouble, and Yennefer gets off the boat to help him because it was the right thing to do. She still has no skills, but she figured out a way to help. But Cahir got away, so there's that. Next episode, Turn Your Back, episode 5. We meet Reince, or Rince, maybe Reince, Rience. They don't really say his name much, if at all, in the show either. But it's something like Reince.
Okay.
He's a fire mage in prison, and someone named Lydia lets him out as long as he'll help find Ciri for whoever her employer is. And I don't think we got an answer to that during the whole season. We only saw him from behind once. So he's a player now.
I don't remember this guy.
He snaps his fingers a lot and makes fire appear.
Okay.
No? Okay. So he winds up going to Oxenford or wherever that was. He has Jaskier. And he's torturing Jaskier with fire. And he's going to hurt him up real bad. But Yennefer comes in pretending to be like his drunk wife. And then spits alcohol into his face while he's doing fire shit.
Fire alcohol.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that could stop someone who's using fire.
Except you'd think they'd be immune to fire if they're using.
He has it on his hands all the time.
Right.
But I guess his face is not immune.
His face is burnable, but not his hands.
So Yennefer rescues him, and they're on the run, but then they just get casually arrested by Oxenfurt guards for stuff.
There you are.
Yep. Well, she's wanted. She has wanted posters out. He got arrested for like spying on her while she was locked up.
It's like when you're in Skyrim and you happen to have stolen something long, long ago.
Yeah. In a different town, even. And
right.
Then, like another town's like, there's the guy that took that woman's sweet roll. Get him. So he's under arrest. She gets away by saying some words that make the Deathless Mother vanish her out of existence.
Deathless Mother, also from Skyrim, was her name wasn't Deathless Mother.
It was something like
something
that.
Mother.
Though, right. The Brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
The Brother Shadow. What do they call it? The Brotherhood of Shadows? Brotherhood something.
All I can think of is a steel now.
Nope, that's Fallout.
Right.
There's lots of Brotherhoods.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, very similar. There is a Deathless Mother or something like that. I gotta play Skyrim again. So the Deathless Mother says, you can have your powers back if you bring Ciri to this place where a monolith fell outside Sintra. She didn't say monolith, but basically that's what we're talking about. Get her to Sintra, and then you'll get your powers back. Meanwhile, Geralt and Istrid talk about monoliths, and then Istrid's like, okay, I've got some research to do. And then Triss helps Ciri learn about magic.
Night Mother. Sorry, I had to look it up.
Night Mother. Okay, thank you. That would have bothered me for a while.
Dark Brotherhood.
Ciri is also willing to give up her blood to make a mutagen so that Vesemir can start. Vesemir's like really
on
excited.
edge. Yeah, he's chomping at the bit to get her.
Give me some blood.
Yeah.
Give me some of that blood. It seemed like it was supposed to be a big deal, but they only took like they take more than that from me when I get my cholesterol.
Yeah, they only took like a little jar full.
Little bit. I mean, you would obviously eat more over time, but just feed Ciri lots of steak and let her regenerate her blood regularly, and she could make you a whole bunch of witchers.
Just wait once a month. She can just write in a jar.
Babe.
A jar up there.
Babe.
A little vial thing.
Oh, God. You're going to set off a firestorm by saying that. Right. What was happening? Okay, Istrid, Geralt, right. Oh, Istrid and Geralt go to that fallen monolith. And in other parts of the world, Ciri winds up using her magic. And there's a prophecy that a child of elder blood will destroy the world. And that's something that people are worried about now. But anyway, Ciri uses her magic, activates the monolith, which causes a Chernobog to appear and fly away. It looked like a dragon to me.
Yeah.
But a Chernobog. Now you know. So Geralt goes back to Kaer Morhen to stop whatever the fuck was happening. And Ciri does not get to have the elixir pumped into her blood at that moment. And yeah.
Yay, save the day.
Yep. Well, maybe. She could get Witcher powers. I'd be okay with that. She'd probably survive. She's a badass. She's got elder blood.
I don't know. I mean, I hear it's pretty painful going through that transformation.
Well, yeah. No, not that it wouldn't have hurt, but would she have survived? I would say yes, most likely.
I mean, I guess it does other stuff to you other than just making you super powerful. Like,
well, we don't know what mutation means in this world exactly. Like, right. I guess if you dissect someone, you can find out.
Does it kill like part of you, that your emotions or something?
They say it does with Witchers. But
so he doesn't want her to be like that.
That appears to not be true, though. It gives you cool
right.
eyes.
He's very emotional this year.
Yes, super emotional.
Yeah.
He's got emotions up and down all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the next episode, we do have a showdown with the Chernobog dragon thing. Because Geralt took Ciri outside the walls of Kaer Morhen, and the Chernabog came and tried to find him and kill him.
Sniffed him out.
Geralt manages to kill the Chernabog, but they used Roach to get away at one point.
Oh my god, that was so sad.
Roach got mangled. It was very
poor
sad.
Roach.
He got
big old gashes in him.
Yeah, and then Geralt had to put him down, peacefully-ish, which was nice, but really sucks. So Roach is no more.
That was unnecessary.
I feel like I looked up why the horse was called Roach a long time ago, and I think there's going to be more roaches. Like, I think that's just the name he always gives his horse, but I'm not totally sure.
That sounds like it's a thing. Yes. Did this happen in the book?
I don't know. I haven't read the second book.
Oh.
By the end of the first book, Geralt and Ciri had not connected yet.
Okay.
So the way that they were doing it with sort of it was basically the first book was all flashbacks. Like Geralt would talk to the priestess and then have a flashback and all that. So I don't know if that's going to change as these books go on, but I'm looking forward to finding out. What else? They kill the dragon, fine. And then they go to the Temple of Melitiel. Got to get better at these names. So that's where we meet Nenneca, the priestess, and they're going to help Ciri learn to control her powers, hopefully. Geralt spent time there when he was young, too.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I bet he was getting it on with some of those priestesses.
Sure.
Let's see. Reince, the firefucker, he shows up at Kaer Morhen looking for Ciri, but just steals the mutagen and then gets away. And I think hurt Vesemir in the process. But he'll be okay. Yennefer shows up at the temple, conveniently, knows where to find Ciri. I'm sure the Deathless Mother told her, but still. She arrives at the temple, and things are kind of tense, but she obviously is still into Geralt, and Geralt's still into her, super duper.
They're talking, like they're speaking terms now, and he's like, Yennefer, you're alive?
Oh, yeah. And there was that.
Right. You skip over all the romantic parts.
Well, but they never had enough time for romance. They were about to, and then Ciri walked in on them.
Yeah, but that was good enough.
Yeah. They still love each other. But then Rince, the firefucker, shows up with a couple of warriors. Now, in this little synopsis, they are named as the Michelet brothers. So maybe they're going to be important characters. Or could have been if they hadn't gotten killed off. A big fight, blah, blah, blah. But Yennefer hides with Ciri because they're looking for Ciri while Geralt's fighting. And then Ciri...
Well, yeah, Yennefer coaches her on opening a portal.
Right. And they disappear through the portal.
And end up in what we thought was Yennefer's farmhouse that she came from when she was little. But that wasn't what it was, right?
No, it was the house that Ciri took refuge in right during the Battle of Sodden.
That's right.
And Geralt showed up there too. It was the husband and wife, but now they're all dead. They've been burned by Firefucker.
Mm-hmm. And now Ciri's like, oh my God, everywhere I go, people die because of me.
Which would probably feel bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Geralt kills the dudes, but Reince gets away. And Yennefer and Ciri get away. Everybody gets away, and Geralt's just now at a temple. Like, what the fuck do I do now? Istrid's research turns up a link between Ciri and Lara Doran, a legendary elven warrior. And Francesca gives birth to an elf for the first time in, I think they said a couple 100 years. There hasn't been a live elf birth. So that's kind of a big deal.
Did they name her Lara?
I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't remember. I don't know if that's
I remember Dara?
Yeah, the boy.
Saying that's a beautiful name.
Oh. Well, wouldn't it be kind of weird if we had Dara and Lara in the same room?
It sure would.
Unless that's just an elf thing. I don't remember what they named her. But we'll look for that when we do our rewatch. And Triss goes back to the Brotherhood and is like, hey, Tisea, there's something you should know about this Ciri girl. She has elder blood, and that's a big deal because I'm pretty sure...
She's got the most midichlorians in her blood.
Oh my God, you nerd. I love you. I think Lore Master Kevin was telling us about this back in the season 1 days. Mm-hmm. The origins of sorcerers, the humans, the Brotherhood and all those people, I think they were partners with elves, and the elves were like, they were being nice to the elves and teaching them like farming or some shit, and the elves were teaching them magic, and then the humans were like, thanks for the magic, now we're gonna kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And that started like major problems for the elves. So I think finding out that elder blood still exists is going to be a problem for the Brotherhood, but we don't really know yet. Episode 7, Voleth Mir. That's the name of the episode. Okay, so Yennefer and Ciri are on the road. Geralt gets Jaskier out of prison and asks for his help, so now they're together again, which is nice.
Yeah. Jaskier's all happy.
Jaskier tells Geralt that Yennefer lost her magic, because they hadn't actually gotten that far when they met up in the previous episode.
Right.
But he tells her about the incantation she muttered, and he figures out the whole thing with the Deathless Mother, because that's a thing that all Witchers know about.
Hut, hut. Turn your back, or whatever it was. Now, by the way, that is a Grimm fairy tale.
You looked it up?
I looked it up.
Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're going to have to help us with a deep dive.
We have that book. We should get it out. And...
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. See, that's how... So, what's the name of the guy that wrote the Witcher books? Not coming to me right now. But he can take stuff out of the Grimm's fairy tales because they are public domain, because they've been around so long.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, like, that's how I know Disney doesn't own Snow White, because no one can own Snow White, but Disney can own, you know, Sleepy Sneezy Doc and all that shit. They can own their physical portrayal of Snow White, make that like a trademark or whatever. They can own aspects of the way that they portrayed Snow White, but they can't own Snow White as a character.
Right. So Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm, brothers.
Yes.
Jacob and Wilhelm.
Oh, I was talking about the guy that wrote the Witcher books.
Whatever
his name is. You don't have to look it up.
I gotta look it up now.
Okay, you gotta look it up. It's fine. I'm just saying he can take whatever he wants from Grimm's fairy tales.
Andrzej Spakowski.
Andrzej Sapkowski.
Okay.
I think that's how it's said.
Andrzej.
Yeah. Yay, Polish. And speaking of which, Geralt meets up with a bunch of dwarves. Geralt and Jaskier meet Yarpen and his crew, which we saw last season with the dragon episode. That was pretty cool. That was neat.
And they're all gonna gang up.
They're gonna help Geralt get to. I don't know how Geralt figured out they were going to Sintra, but that's where they're gonna head to try to get Yennefer and Ciri.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Where does that part go? Well, so Ciri and Yennefer make it to the obelisk, or whatever it's called, the monolith.
Right. And Yennefer's like, you did that? Right.
And Yennefer's sort of, they're approaching the point of no return, and Yennefer kind of figures out that this is going to go badly.
She figures out that this girl is actually the most powerful person that she's ever met.
But also that she's about to commit an act of great evil. It's not just some kid.
Like, right. If it was just some kid, she'd be like, all right.
Yeah. Yennefer doesn't have a problem sacrificing some kid.
Yeah.
But she does realize that this is going to be very, very bad. And Ciri freaks out, and then the Nilfgaards are coming.
Right. You betrayed me.
And it's all sorts of shit. But Jaskier and Geralt and Yarpen arrive just in time, and they take on the Nilfgaardians.
Right. Save the day.
Geralt thinks about killing Yennefer, but says to take her back to Kaer Morhen instead. And let's see. Ciri and Geralt were going to just take their own path, I guess. The baby's born.
Right, the elf baby
gets born and then gets murdered. So Francesca's like, maybe we shouldn't fight for Nilfgaard. And Filavandrel's like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe we should just stay in Sintra and rebuild our kingdom. And the Nilfgaards aren't having that. And we don't know exactly what happened to the baby. Well, someone stabbed it, but we don't know why or how that kind of came about.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out who did that.
But Fringilla goes to Aretuza.
Wait, did we find out?
Kind of, in the last episode. Fringilla goes back to Aretuza, where she is not welcome, but asks her uncle for help. But we don't really find out what that help is. Another thing that maybe rewatching will help. But like, she's like, can you help me? And then he's like, sure. And then she leaves. And that was kind of the end of it. So we don't know.
I think maybe
what that was
help
about.
smooth over the fact that she's become a tool
villain.
of war.
Yeah. Well,
maybe like get people on her side.
but then she just left again. And because
Yeah.
he said, well, he did
Put
say
in a
to
good
her,
word for her.
He did say to her that you could just abandon Nilfgaard and come back, and there, you'll have
Right.
to do some penance. But I think we can make
You'll
this
be
work.
forgiven because you were just doing what you were told.
Yeah, something like that. But then she left anyway.
Right.
She went back to Sintra and
That
did
could
her
have-
own machinations.
They could have explained that a little better.
I did love that scene. So she like poisons a bunch of these Nilfgaardian commander assholes, including Cahir,
Oh yeah,
and
that was
paralyzes
good.
them all. And then goes on this big long speech while assassinating.
Slowly,
Oh god, it was
torturously.
crazy. Like, you can feel everything that's happening, but you can't react to it because you're completely paralyzed.
Mhm. She
And then you
sticks
die.
a needle in that guy's eye.
Oh, that was cool. That guy was a dick.
Oh,
He deserved it.
yeah. And then they don't even die. Like they stay in that position.
Right? They can't fall.
You know that guy's brain got stabbed, and he's got to be hemorrhaging blood everywhere in his brain.
Oh, that was a cool scene. But she spares Cahir and says, "You better fucking do what I say.
Yeah, run home and tell them.
Tell them that I'm the one that killed the baby and I did it to put the elves back in their
Is
place."
this when she said, "I want you to rave"?
Yeah, rave about
Rave
me.
about
Because they
me.
find out
When
Amir's
they
coming.
ask, yeah. When Amir asks, rave. That's what she said. Ay, 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 Fringilla. She seemed so nice, like with everything that was happening with the elves. And then you're like, oh, she's turning nice again. She's just misguided, but she's truly evil.
Well, she might still have a path. We'll find out. Oh, I said before that Yarpen and Jaskier were told to take Yennefer back to Kaer Morhen, but that's not true. Ciri was going back to Kaer Morhen. Geralt and Yennefer went to go track down the demon lady, the Deathless
Oh, that's
Mother.
right.
And that's where her hut grew legs and shit. Like, that was weird.
That was weird.
But then
It
she
reminded
escapes.
me of that part. Reminded me of Howl's Moving Castle with the
Yes.
chicken leg.
Yes, I could see that.
Uh-huh.
And finally, the last episode. Well, okay, so there were a couple things. Like, in Sintra, in the kingdoms area, Francesca and a few of her elves go off on a baby-killing spree. They do it in because Dara said, "Hey, I was a spy for Redania, and I'm really sorry." So they think that Redania killed the baby. So they go to Redania. I don't know how they got there, whatever. But she starts killing babies with her Francesca elf magic. So that's going to cause some problems.
Yeah, she marks the door of everybody that has babies, and then all at once waves her little, or does her little nose bewitched, tinkle tinkle tink, and then you can hear all the women in the town screaming, "My baby!"
Yep.
You didn't talk about the fact that the birdhouse hut lady got away.
She escaped. Yeah, she escaped the hut after growing
right,
legs.
and then they're like, "Oh, she wanted to go home." Remember that?
Well,
it was really. They sent her. Did they send her to another world?
Well,
she wanted to go home.
They didn't send her anywhere, but I think they weren't really sure what happened to her. But in fact, maybe we saw it at the end of episode 7. Like, she floats away, and there's nothing Geralt and Yennefer can do about it. And then she goes into Ciri, like miles and miles and miles away. She finds Ciri and goes inside of her.
That's right. Okay.
But there was speculation about wanting to go home, and I think more of that played out in this final episode. So the big reveal of episode 8, before all the battle and stuff happens, was at the very, very end, in Sintra, King Amir arrives, and he's like, "I'm the one that had the baby killed, you idiots."
That's right.
But it turns out that Amir is also known as Dooney, which makes him Ciri's father, and it's a whole thing that we will talk much more in depth about.
Yeah, this now just took a fucking turn where it's going to be crazy.
I thought you said you saw that coming.
That it was going to be her father?
Yeah.
Well, I thought her father and mother were dead.
Well, we were supposed to think that.
Okay. I don't remember why I said that, but
all right.
I mean, it's very Darth Vader.
And I unfortunately knew that she was going to turn out to be a daughter of Nilfgaard. I wasn't sure how it was going to play out, but I played just enough of the Witcher 3 video game to have that little piece revealed, and then I was like, I don't know if I should play this anymore. Spoilers. But I do still kind of want to go back to it. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, the whole thing with the majority of the last episode was all about the battle against this demon lady, Volethmir, the Deathless Mother.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she's inside Ciri. Ciri goes and kills a bunch more Witchers in their sleep.
Right.
Really running low on Witchers.
Yes.
But she gets found out. Geralt shows up just in time again, like you do.
Don't kill her. Like they're getting ready to kill her. All the Witchers.
Well, she was getting ready to kill Vesemir.
Right.
And then and then the Witchers were going to try to kill her.
But then Geralt saves
exactly
it again.
Blame them. Geralt, yeah.
She's possessed.
She's possessed.
She needs an exorcism.
Mm-hmm. There's there's the tree where they hang the Witcher medallions. It turns out that that's one of those monoliths the whole time.
That's right. She breaks it.
Evil Ciri breaks it open and uses it to summon what they call basilisks. But the traditional fantasy basilisk can turn you to stone, which this thing was not doing. These things were not doing. I love how Geralt's able to kill one of them seemingly without too much problems.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, it's like 3 or 4 Witchers to a basilisk, and they're getting their asses kicked. More Witchers die. I think by the end of it, it may just be Vesemir
and Geralt,
Lambert, Cohen, and Geralt. That might be it.
Yeah.
Maybe there's 1 or 2 others, but they're basically out of Witchers. So I hope they can make new ones, because I think that would be a fun experience to see play out. It all plays out. Yennefer, again, we got to dive deeper into this and figure it out. But Yennefer figures out that if she slits her wrists open and is suffering that way, it'll suck the demon into her body instead of Ciri's. So she's trying to be a savior. But then ultimately someone, maybe it was Ciri, is able to open up a portal to another world that Volethmir is trying to get to. Or maybe it was just through the obelisk, now that I mention it. And they all go through the obelisk, and Volethmir gets ejected and gets her own body back. And then the Wild Hunt is off in the horizon, riding towards them, saying, Hey, Cirilla, can we just talk to you for a minute? We have a job opening or something. And I don't know what it was. But then they go back to the world, and the party has fully reassembled. Yennefer, Geralt, Jaskier, Cirilla, they're going to go off on the road now that they are hunted and try to figure out what the fuck to do about all these bad things that are happening.
So explain what the Wild Hunt is.
Well, I haven't played the video game enough to know, and I haven't read enough of the books to know, but They appear to be riders of the storm, like apocalypse.
Riders on the storm.
Like, just if they come to your world, you're fucked. They're going to destroy everything in their path.
So they're like the whatchamacallits in Lord of the Rings. What are those black guys?
The ring wraiths?
The what?
The ring wraiths?
Ring wraiths? No, there was something above them, but sure.
Okay.
I thought there was something there was a name for the 5 or 8 or whatever it was. They were the guys. Yeah, the ring wraiths.
They were the ring wraiths, and then it's not coming to me right now, but they would always ride these beasts that were called fell beasts, but they were also called something else. Mm-hmm. And then that was kind of like this interchangeable term, and it was kind of confusing. And now it's not coming to me at all because we've been watching too much high fantasy fiction.
Yeah, I know.
Someone's yelling it right now at their speakers or headset. Dumbasses. But I mean, the ring wraiths were working with an agenda. I don't know that the Wild Hunt is going to turn out to have an agenda. I think they're just destruction.
Okay.
I think. I don't know.
I thought they were going to be part of the larger plot.
Well, I have a feeling they're going to be the big bad maybe of the whole show, or at least of the next couple seasons. It would be a shame if they were defeated easily. And if I feel like if they have a thing with Ciri, then I think there should be some kind of final showdown there, but not until Ciri's had a chance to fully evolve.
Sure.
That's what I would like to see from a storytelling perspective, is the Wild Hunt's out there. We know they're coming. It's kind of like, the White Walkers and shit, right? Like, it took a long time for them to cross the wall.
Sure did, but it sure did end quickly.
And it ended quickly. But the Wild Hunt is still stuck in another plane, another sphere of existence, right? The whole conjunction thing. So there's going to have to be some kind of conjunction for them to make the crossing. So my guess is that maybe the end of season 3, there will be some kind of conjunction event and they will cross over, but then it will take another 1 or 2 seasons for the showdown to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we'll see. I think they said that Witcher is being planned for 7 seasons.
Yes.
I think that was said recently. So hopefully Netflix will see it through. They should.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
They will.
They won't pull a Santa Clarita Diet on us. Just end the show abruptly with some awesome cliffhangers. Do you remember that show?
No.
Drew Barrymore is a fucking zombie lady.
Oh, yeah.
Like a conscious zombie.
That's right. They stopped it after.
And it was really
2
getting
seasons?
good.
3?
3, I think. I think it was 3, but like some big shit was happening, and then they're just like, nah, cancel. But The Witcher's pulling in huge ratings, so it's hard to imagine that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill.
It was the #1 show streamed in the U.S. at least until New Year's Eve day.
What's now?
Cobra Kai.
Oh, yeah.
When we mentioned it a couple weeks ago as being on the list of things that I'm excited about, you were not excited. But then you kind of...
I always get sucked
wine.
in. Oh, yeah, I drank
some
the
wine.
rest of the bottle of wine that he had a quarter glass of.
And we watched like 5 or 6 episodes.
I fell asleep through a little bit of it.
Yeah, we might have to rewatch the second half of that one because you missed some great shit.
Okay.
But yeah.
It
show.
is good. It's good. I just have a hard time committing. Unless it's Henry Cavill.
It's okay. I forgive you.
Game of Thrones.
Henry Cavill can't be in everything, unfortunately.
No. I like him tall, dark, and handsome. Just like you, babe.
But with a beard.
Right. That's okay. You can have a beard.
Okay. Well,
I wouldn't like Henry Cavill with a beard, although I'm sure he's still sexy.
if we watch that last Mission Impossible movie, you can see him with a mustache.
Oh, yeah?
And see if you like him.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He beats the shit out of Tom Cruise at one point, so that could be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we will be back soon to finish off the Wheel of Time, because we didn't do our grand finale of that season. And then I don't know if we'll immediately hop into our Witcher deep dives or if there's something else coming up that we're going to need to cover, but we will be talking more about The Witcher soon. We'll be keeping an eye out for all the Game of Thrones news and headlines that are fit to print. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I don't have a good song to close off this series with. I don't have a Witcher song like I do Wheel of Time song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll come up with, we always come up with something eventually.
At least we have intro music for this, from
Don't
from
forget
J.
to put
Sarge.
it on there.
I will do my best to remember to put it on here.
Okay.
But he's going to get us a Wheel of Time theme eventually.
Yay.
But probably not until season 2, I'm guessing.
That's okay.
But it's going to be awesome. Anyway.
Bye for now.
Bye. Happy New Year.